Please.
What?
I'm pumping up the jam.
Yeah.
Pump up the jam. Pump it up. Pump it, pump it, pump it.
Bad white man dancing. Can I say that?
I think so.
No,
He is a white man.
You can't take it
Well,
back.
I think
But was it bad? But was it bad?
Oh, did she say
said bad white
Bad
man
white
dancing.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought she just said
It
white
was
man
probably
dancing.
good white man
But
dancing.
it was bad white man.
It was.
You were
yeah.
correct.
We're usually king of that. Hey, we are talking about
rewind and
friendships.
we're gonna start over.
Yeah, we're talking about friendships as an adult. It's easy to make friends as a kid. You know, you're in school, you're on sports teams, you're with your friends all day.
Yep.
You meet people in certain, after school activities. But as an adult, life gets crazy.
You just have more time when you're
Busy.
younger to spend with your friends. That's like I'm always encouraging my kids, go play with your friends.
Yeah,
Get outside and
exactly.
play with your friends. No one is telling me anymore, hey, get outside there and go play with your friends.
I know, isn't that the truth? I still have my friends from childhood because
Yeah.
I grew up in McMinnville. So there's a handful of us that we don't see each other all the time, but I feel like we pick up just like that.
But how do you stay in, like over the course of the last year, I don't know how many people you're talking about because I'm already like in disbelief. Because
Really?
I'm so bad at it. How many people are we talking about from McMinnville and how did you stay in touch with them over the course of the last year?
Phone calls and texts.
Like you went out of your way to say, I'm going to call this person today.
Laura, Julie, Janet, Kim.
How do you decide it's time to call them?
Well, just, whatever, a little text.
No, I
and
don't know.
whatnot.
That's why I can't keep a friend.
He is why we're talking about this.
Don't overthink this.
Yeah. So we're
you
talking
call
about
friends
this
a lot?
because there's a new app.
Some.
He goes golfing with his buddies every multiple times a week.
My wife will remind me, you haven't called your friend Jeff in a while. You haven't called Michael in a while. I'm like, you're right. And I'll give him a call. Yeah.
I think some guys do that, especially fathers. It's like they have no friends anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Or
they get
it's
involved with
easier
the
for
kids.
guys because you're like, hey, let's go watch the game, and that's kind of the catalyst to get them all together,
Yeah.
and then you hang out, or let's go play this,
It's true.
golf.
My
or
wife would go out with her girlfriends for dinner or just to have a drink and appetizer. They'll sit in this restaurant for 4 hours.
Absolutely.
And I honestly will tell Grayson, I'm like, was there a sports game on in the background? I mean, what were you doing for
Yeah.
4 hours? She's like, we were talking.
No.
And I can't. I could watch the game with my buds for 4 hours,
Yeah.
but I don't want to talk
Or
to
you
my
can golf
friends
for hours.
for 4 hours.
And then how many of your wives, when you get home, you're asking about what's your friend's name? Mike?
Mike.
It's like, hey, how's Mike's
Comes up a lot.
wife? Or where did they go? And you're like, I don't know. We didn't talk about that. I'm like, that's the first question that I would ask. You guys don't talk about anything
Nope.
that we talk about, ever.
That's true. That is true.
I was hanging with two dads after a baseball game on Monday, Memorial Day, on our way home, and we stopped. And like my wife and some of the wives were hanging over at this table eating tacos, and I was over here with two dads. And I was kind of proud of myself because we usually just talk about baseball and how these 13-year-olds play, which is kind of sad in some respects.
Talked about basketball,
Well,
too,
no, I
did
actually
you?
thought to myself, there was a lull in the conversation. Like, it went quiet. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is awkward. Like, we're not talking about anything. So I said to the one dad, I said, hey, your oldest daughter's graduating this year, right? How's that going? And like, we started talking about other things besides baseball.
See, a prompt.
Wow.
He didn't really have an answer, so it got awkward again. But at least I came up with the question.
Good job. So there's
Okay, go
a
ahead.
Portland guy who just developed a new iPhone app. It's called Popple. And he had this experience, like all of us, where, we follow our friends on social media and you feel like you are seeing the latest updates, where they're going, what baseball tournament, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
He had this friend, he's from Maryland originally. He had this friend on the East Coast. He was seeing all these, whatever, normal social posts. And then all of a sudden he hears he died of cancer. And he's like, what? I had no idea that he was sick. He just wasn't posting that on his Facebook page. And so he's like, I need to be better about really genuinely like connecting with people and not just like hitting like on some post. So he made this app, and it goes onto your iPhone, and you can go through your phone contacts and choose your mom or your grandma or your aunt and say, hey, I want to be reminded to call mom once a week. Like your mom is in Missouri. She lives, you guys talk very
Exactly, like
regularly
every
all the
other
time.
day.
Yeah,
all the time.
So for someone who's not as good, I want to call mom once a week, and then it will, and you can write in there like, last time we talked, she was planting these flowers outside. And so it just kind of gives you a prompt of like, oh yeah, I should ask about her garden. Like you may forget that in busy life. So then once a week it sends up a prompt and it says, call your mom, and it has the button right there. So if you're driving and you see it and you're like, oh, okay, I'm gonna call her right now, no excuses. And how's that garden going that you were planting? And they're like, oh, thank you so much for asking. You know, thank you
Yeah.
so much for asking about
How's
my
the cat?
daughter graduating.
The cat I had 30 years ago? That's how long it's supposed to be.
The cat that died?
We don't need to run the story, Brian, but yeah, so that was kind of the catalyst. I think it's a cool idea. It's, I mean, obviously, you know, you do it if you want to, but I am bad at keeping up with people. Because I
but you get
remember at the
busy.
worst times.
When you call these people, I'm curious, because I think you do
It's
most.
like, how does social life
How does this
work?
work?
I feel like you're doing the majority of the calling here. Do you
So
actually
you're
like sit
calling
somewhere in your
someone.
house and dedicate like a time in
True.
within like your day, or because I'm usually if I'm calling someone, it's in the car while I'm driving somewhere because I
Yeah.
feel like I have that window of
Same. Sometimes I do that as well.
sometimes or.
Yeah.
I never call someone in my house just like I'm going to sit here on the couch and talk.
Yeah, sometimes I do. I remember, let's see, I talked to my friend Christina, and it was like on a Sunday morning, and I think she sent me a text, and I'm like, it's too much to text, I'll just call her. And I was just sitting in bed. You know, I was drinking coffee, and yeah, sometimes.
This is a story that fits today's theme. So my mother sent me a video. One of my first cousins, his uncle passed away. Not somebody, it was my dad's brother-in-law's brother. And I hadn't met Clarence, but I'd heard David talk about his uncle a lot. And he went to the funeral and he spoke. And it turns out the video clip of him speaking at the funeral was on the funeral home's website.
Okay.
So my mom sends me this clip. So I watch it. Well, that got me thinking about David, who I hadn't talked to in probably 10 years. So I sent him a message, found him on Facebook, sent him a message, he messaged me, and then we talked on the phone for probably about an hour and a half. This
Wow.
was just last week.
Really?
And I was at home.
You were sitting on a couch?
Sitting on a couch, and it was really wonderful. You know, a lot about, you know, childhood, but then, you know, how's your
Catching
sister
up.
Deb doing and all this stuff, you know, and he has a really nice house with a boat and everything down in Florida. He invited me down.
like, can I
so I'm
come
thinking,
visit?
man, I need to keep in touch with David. He's got a boat and a house on the water in Florida.
But I do think sometimes with all the technology at our disposal, it makes it easier not to connect.
Yeah.
If you've got a technological reminder, then it's kind of like you're on autopilot again. Like, honestly, I don't even know my partner's real phone number. I know it starts with 360, but he's always been in my phone
You don't
as
have to
Jeff.
memorize numbers
You don't have to memorize numbers. You don't have to, you know, do a lot of things that are like face to face. And sometimes that even gives people anxiety. It's like, I'd rather text you than do this.
It kind of does to me now, and that's
Does
why
it?
I'd rather. My first instinct is to text
Right.
versus a phone call, because I hate just like you're saying, and
Cold
you're like,
calling.
are you just calling
I
them
always-
in your home?
I text usually before I call. Hey, you
Yes.
have time to talk? And then
Yeah.
and then they say yes or no. But if they say yes, then I'll call.
And you're always driving.
Always driving.
Yeah.
Always
you're
driving.
calling.
Driving for a living.
It is because you're like, you feel like you're getting two things done at one
No,
time.
that's walk the dog. I wouldn't like that could be another like, oh, I'm going to go out and walk the dog. I don't need to think. See, I have a hard time. Like my wife, I noticed she'll be doing like she can make dinner in the kitchen and talk on the phone at the same time. I could never do that. How could I concentrate on what you're saying if I'm looking at the recipe at the same time? You know what I mean? Like I need to focus on a task. But walking a dog and sadly driving a car, I can apparently do without concentrating fully on that activity.
That's
no.
Jennifer Taft says, for a connected society, we are very disconnected. Good
Oh,
point,
yeah.
Jennifer. Yep.
Preach.
Christy
go ahead.
Shirk says, I have a friend I went to high school with and I hadn't seen her for years. I lost track of her. I finally found her and we keep in touch and I'm thinking about going to visit her. You should, Christy. That's awesome.
Haley Orr says I try to make it a coffee date or lunch.
Okay.
Yeah, that's good. We do that as well.
I have a pal that works at another TV station in town. You all know him. I don't think I need to say his name aloud to
Well,
tell
now
the
I'm
story.
curious. Tell me afterwards. I
But
guess.
we used to get together maybe once every 3 months for like a lunch. He used to like this Italian spot down there in Northwest Portland. And then like suddenly, I don't know what happened, like a year went by. I can tell you what happened. I looked at my text and I saw that he literally texted me and I never texted back. It was just something kind of random.
Like you
but I
forget.
never texted back and that was the end of it. Like I
Oh,
didn't.
I'm sure he's
Like you
not mad.
No, he's not,
him.
because I just said I saw that text because my sons were actually looking at all my texts like, why do you still have these? And I saw his at the very bottom from like 15 months ago. I was like,
Yeah.
And like, Dad, did you never respond to him?
Yeah.
Like he asked you a question
15 months ago.
and I'm like, no, I didn't. And I actually just reached out. I just went, yo.
Yo.
And he wrote back, yo. And then we got to talking. Now we're going to do lunch. I don't know
Nice.
when,
That's
but we
great.
talked about it.
Well, that's good. Here's a different take. Cassie Taylor, our producer, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I tend to isolate, especially when I have a lot going on. The last thing I want is to talk to someone after 9 months of not talking and have them dump all their crap on me while I'm already stressed.
Jeez. I like my favorite part of that whole thing. We had one from Cassie Taylor, our producer, right?
I don't know everybody's last names. I don't know everybody's last name.
Willie Huey, what's up, Willie? One of our
Regulars.
loved regulars. Yes, he says modern parenting has changed a lot. In the 80s, a dad leaving at 6 p.m. to go bowling or drinking was not weird. Dads taking off on Saturday to go fishing or golfing with his buddies all day was normal. Nowadays, dads take over the kids after work until bedtime. If you take a full Saturday off to yourself when there's young kids, you'll be crucified as a bad dad and neglectful husband. A change in society. You are correct. I mean that jokingly, but also, you know,
there's expectations.
It's more of a joint expectation, and you know, dads want to be. I think, you know, I mean, you're a great dad. You were sharpening Natasha's ice skates the other day. Yeah, so I think it's just you know,
because he doesn't do anything else.
You have to help.
I was waiting for somebody to throw in a zinger.
I was trying to help you.
Thank you, Brenda.
Zinger, also known
You're
as
upfront about that. Yes, Jeff Fuller says some of my best friends never call or talk. That's why we're friends.
There you go. Yeah.
I love that though, like the ability to, like those old friends you were talking about, Brett, that you have, like you can just call or text out of the blue.
Yes.
And catch up. You know,
like
where
you
you
never miss a beat.
Yeah.
I mean,
that
some
is
of them I've known since I was 11.
And no one's mad. They're like, hey, how are you? Like, it's so great to hear.
I mean, stuff happens. What I remember when the kids were playing sports is our friends became the other parents in the group, the soccer, the basketball, whatever it is, because those were the people that you were around constantly. Yeah.
You know,
that's where you are.
Yes, and I'm going to bring him up for the 9th time in the last 2 days.
Mike?
Mike from Hillsboro. It's the guy who's the best man at my wedding.
Yeah.
Best man at my that's an important role. The best man. But the thing I do like about Mike, what I like about Mike is that we're friends because we just like hang. Like there was like the friends I have because my kids became friends with kids. I'm literally your friend because our kids are friends. I mean, we may get along, we may hang out, we may enjoy beers, tacos, all that good stuff. But the fact is, we are together, hanging out because our kids are the same age.
Right.
But like Mike and I, it's like when we hang out, it has nothing to do with the kids, the job, anything. It's just like we just get along.
That's beautiful, man.
Yeah,
I love that.
Gee, should I have married Mike? I don't know.
I do think there's something
to talk to him. I mean, I know you guys are going out recently.
I remember this so well. It just came up the other day because it was right around Memorial Day. Last year, early days of the pandemic, as we like to call, April and May of last year, I was talking to him on the phone. He literally said, man, like, who are you hanging out with these days?
It's not me.
He goes, I guess like those dudes on your kid's baseball team, right? And I go, yeah, we do hang out a lot. And he goes, man, I feel like I got replaced. He's just kidding around. And I said, who are you hanging out with? He goes, no one. I said, yeah, I'm not really hanging out with anyone either. And then we said, like, let's get together. And since that time, we've only gotten together one time.
One time.
Yeah, it was like right before Christmas, but we are going to get together next Saturday, the 12th of June.
There you go.
It's on my calendar.
What are you doing?
I feel like the couples have got to mesh like pretty well.
Yeah, it does help.
And that gets that more on a rotation.
I have a friend named Jeremy. My oldest friend in Oregon, I could call him, because I met him back in 2000, like 3 months into my first TV job here. He worked at the station. He's out of TV. We remain friends today, but only because, to your point, my wife and his wife became friends. And so they're really keeping that thing going.
And so sometimes the wives are like, hey, we're getting together with so-and-so. And you're like, sweet, I love
awesome.
them. Yeah.
Yes, she's always saying we're getting together with Jeremy and Jennifer. Or how about we have Jeremy and Jennifer over? Yes, that's a good idea.
Sounds or you try and mesh the couples and it doesn't work quite so well, because that's always,
that could happen.
Yeah. Jennifer Fitzgerald says, to take it a step further, rather than calling through the pandemic, a couple of friends and I started writing letters and sending cards to each other. I love getting the mail and reading the meaningful words. I will say, to this day, there's something nice about seeing a personal letter in the mail that has your name on it, right?
Never happens.
I know.
Like, I mean, it hardly ever happens at maybe Christmas time.
No, absolutely. Oh, don't get us started on the Christmas card thing.
When I read that comment, I thought of you guys. Ours are still up, by the way. I don't know why. I should take a picture. I don't know. In the hallway of my house, we still have that thing I was telling you about that holds the cards.
Oh, yeah.
It's still up.
Oh, yeah.
Christmas cards.
With Christmas cards.
Oh, I think ours are still in the refrigerator, on the side of the refrigerator.
I
They
mean,
ain't no-
it's got people's faces on it, which is nice.
I see new viewers this morning, you guys. Mindy Wolf, laugh
just-
from
No, she's been on before.
Yeah.
It's a
Oh,
great
she has?
yeah.
Hi, Mindy. I
This is a
apologize
good
for that.
comment.
She says a big issue is we're all on our phones, not interacting. We are interacting with you. That's how we're reading your comments.
Yeah.
She
I
means
can't
in general,
actually
though,
say,
I think.
I know. I'm just telling her. I can't actually say I don't have time. Making time off social media or games or whatever to call people and have a voice call is a better use of time. But I'm guilty of not calling often enough. Yep, same.
Yeah.
Yeah, we all are.
Yeah. Stanford Walker, strong opinion this morning. If you have to be reminded about your friends or family, then you are not in touch with life. Too much self-absorbed ego. Maybe a trip to the therapist to talk about narcissism
Wait.
is in order. That's Stanford this morning.
Reminded about your friends or
Stanford's
family.
being
Well,
very feisty this
Stanford,
morning. Very feisty.
Things are busy. Like, you know,
Yeah.
a lot of us, we're either at work or we're freaking, you know, shuttling
just to
kids
be
to and fro, and then you have to go to sleep.
Yeah, when I get home, I'm tired.
Yeah.
You know, I have the one activity weekly, which is usually on a Saturday or Sunday, where I go play golf with my buds, and that's half of the day. And but the bad thing is, even if good friends call, hey, you want to go out and get a beer or something? The first thought in my mind is, man, I'm tired, man.
Yeah.
I got the couch right here, got my fuzzy wuzzy slippers.
It does take
Yeah,
effort.
it sure does. It sure does.
Yeah. I had a
But
neighborhood.
making new, do you try and make new?
No way. No way.
I
no
think
new
that
friends.
is so hard. I meet people that I'm like, that person is cool.
Could be a good friend.
Like, I would genuinely like want to hang out with that person.
No, because
but then
I know what I'm
the
doing to my current
anxiety
friends.
and like teenager in me is like, that'd be like weird.
Yeah.
It's too awkward to message them. Like, what are
Yep.
you gonna say? Like, do you want to go
Yeah.
out with me? Or
Oh
you know
gosh,
what I
you know
mean?
what?
Like, how
Yes.
do you ask?
Yes, my wife is trying to get me to do this to my next door neighbor. Cool guy. From what I've lived next door to him now for 2 years.
Yeah,
This month,
nice
well,
guy.
last month. May
Has a family
May
or
was
single?
2 years. He's married. He has 2 daughters, a little bit younger than my 13-year-old boys. He's a cool guy, and Mia keeps saying, "Why don't you just go over there and ask him to go have a beer?"
Like, yeah. What do you do? Just ding dong his
How
doorbell?
the heck would that work? Hey,
You want to come over?
you want to come and play?
Maybe you should. Don't you see him outside?
Yeah, I do.
though?
I would say, "Hey, how's it going?"
And then do you ever stop and actually have a conversation, or it's just a greeting?
One time we talked about football. I think I was wearing an Eagles shirt or something. I was like, "Eagles fan?"
That would be a good time to slip it in,
And,
not just
yeah.
ringing the doorbell.
Okay, yeah.
Just work it in that way.
But-
See, I am the master at this because I like to talk to people and I like to ask questions. So everybody that we know, and sometimes they're my kids' friends, sometimes they're Jeff's friends, I'll have a conversation with them and I'll come back and I'm like, "Did you know so-and-so?" They're like, "I had
"What?"
no idea." I'm like, "Really? They never told
Did you
you
not
that."
ask
Did you never ask? Exactly. So yeah, they just slip that in.
Yeah. I feel like Drew and I should be good friends because we're actually, when we have these conversations, our lives are very similar.
We're not good friends.
I mean, we're not good friends. Well, I got myself into a corner here. I mean, we don't hang out. When's the last time you called me and said, "Rod, let's go grab a beer and watch the Kansas City Chiefs game together"?
Yeah, I haven't done that. You're
Yeah,
right.
you haven't done that.
You know what I was nervous about? I was telling you the story of my neighbor. I was so afraid that one of you was going to ask me, "Hey, what's your neighbor's name?" And but now I was thinking about it. Now it's Ryan. I don't know why I'm having a hard time with names today.
Because you're on the spot.
And that's probably why I also don't want to maintain friendships. I'm afraid that I'm going to forget their name when talking to them.
But it is. Making new friends is
Yeah, no.
frightening.
I did not realize, because you're so public and so polished and poised on TV, you have a great deal of, you talk about this all the time, you're very honest.
She's a wreck.
Like anxiety.
We have
Anxiety
morning
about
news
awkward-
meetings. Yes. And you guys maybe have been all on a Zoom call through all of this. And it's the muting and the pausing, and somebody doesn't know that they're muted and they're talking, and there's like long sections of nothingness. And it like kills me inside, the awkwardness.
You will
I
avoid
can't
it at
if
all costs.
I'll like dial into our news meeting, and I have no responsibility in it. Nothing is.
You're just an
I
observer.
never have to speak
Yeah.
in it. But the long pauses, or like blipping out of
Even
audio
the
on other
perception
people,
of awkwardness.
I just sit at my desk and I just die inside of like, I want to get off this thing so bad.
Yeah, and that's on a Zoom call.
Yeah. I don't know what that is, but it is
Black out
like
the
some
screen.
weird anxiety.
Yeah, it is. I'll let you just hang. I'll
will.
take the silence.
You're evil like
all right,
that.
let's just kind
Oh
of.
boy.
Yes, right. Our director reminding us of a popular
Yeah.
phrase on those calls.
What is that? This whole show is making me tired of talking. So I'm
It's
with
giving me,
Drew.
like-
I'm like,
No,
Giving you anxiety.
Like some PIOs, like you're kind of friends with some.
You know what?
Like,
I invited 2 of them to my wedding.
really?
At the
That's
time,
nice of
Mike
you.
Schultz. Do you remember Mike Schultz? He was the PIO for the Multnomah County Sheriff's Office at the time. Do you remember Mike Schultz at all? Like in the news? You guys probably don't.
I
know.
recognize his name.
And Alan Oswald was the PIO for Portland Fire for a while there.
Oh.
I don't know. Just going out and doing stories with these guys, we became pretty good buds. And so I invited him to my wedding. But then I haven't talked to those guys in
Yeah.
forever. I probably never will again.
But I mean, yeah, people in the course of work or whatever, and I'm like, that person's cool, you know? Like, I
Absolutely.
would love to hang out with them.
Yeah.
I never
The
will.
kids changed everything. That's because
does.
before I had the
Yeah.
kids, I was
Yeah.
more willing to like make friends and go do
Well,
things
you
with
could
the
just
friends.
leave the house at a whim.
Yes.
Now you'd be like, Mia,
I'm tired and
maybe
I'm
on the
busy.
3rd Saturday of the month, could I
I-
maybe, I mean, that's how
She'll
I
say
feel.
no way. If she was watching
Yeah,
this, she'd say,
see?
no way, Nina. I'm always telling Drew, this
I
is
know.
me talking about my wife. I'm always telling Drew that he should go out and do something with somebody
Right.
at some
Yes.
point. Because I'm tired of him being here.
Yeah.
But I'm usually, like you said, Rod, tired, number one.
Is that's the.
And also, do you have this problem? I'm going to call, I think about someone, I'm going to call them while I'm driving, but I know it's going to take me, like I only have 15 minutes left in this car ride. And I'm afraid that like, what if the conversation goes beyond 15 minutes? I know I
You're
don't have
sitting in the car.
I know I don't have time for that.
See,
If it's a good convo, I just did that the other day with.
But you know you have
coworker.
something to do when you get home.
Oh, like is it pressing?
well, you have a window of time.
Maybe my kids need to be picked up.
My kids are grown. I can talk when I want.
Yes.
There's a light at the end of the tunnel. Yeah.
This is a good
You're just not
conversation,
there yet.
you guys. I like it.
Will Rod and I become closer friends?
we should, you know. But I'm tired. You?
Sometime.
You like to drink the beer, right?
I like to
Jennifer
drink
Taft
beer.
says, Drew, your homework is to talk to your neighbor.
Ryan.
And
Report back.
His wife's name is Rebecca. I don't actually know their last names.
That's
2
okay.
years I've lived next door to them.
Neighborhood bar.
Talk to the neighbor.
Well, you know what else
Talk
too?
to the neighbor.
When I'm home, I don't want to drive to go see somebody. I want to hang out with somebody that lives like 5 minutes.
Oh, that's
from
the
me.
yeah, oh, absolutely.
I don't want to drive 30
That's why we're not
minutes on
hanging
my
out.
day off to go hang out with somebody.
You're in Vancouver. You might as well
Yes.
live in Montana.
You're exactly
That's
right.
way too far for me to go to hang out with you.
Yes.
We are lazy people. Bye, you guys. Have a good Thursday.
I do think.